Okay, welcome, welcome. My name is Dena DeLuco, and I am thrilled to be here with Terri Maxwell today to talk about something that, well, it's pretty timeless, but especially right now with everything that's going on. Have learned so much from Terri, and just thrilled. Terri, thank you so much for being here to talk about the ABCs. And first, I want to talk a little bit about you. Like, you have so many
Mhm.
geniuses in your wheelhouse. Like, just tell us about maybe Shiftco, Succeed on Purpose. How did this brilliance happen?
Yeah, so I'm a serial entrepreneur, and about 12 years ago, I decided that I wanted to only work on businesses that made the world better. And so I started the equivalent of a purposeful Shark Tank, which is called Share on Purpose Inc. And our first business was Succeed on Purpose. And then all of that led to a portfolio of purpose driven businesses. And it culminated in the business that we launched in 2020, which is how we met, which is shiftco.global. And shiftco.global is a business growth platform for entrepreneurs that want to make the world better. And Shiftco integrates phenomenal business training and coaching with personal and leadership development to help entrepreneurs that really have something special that the world needs right now in these crazy times that we're in, help them grow that business to something that's financially viable and something that makes the impact that they're able to make.
And it totally is doing that. And I have to say that Shiftco has been the best investment I've ever made, not just for my business, but in my own personal growth. And that is how I found Terri's ABCs, which is part of her prosperity challenge that you get to take for free in Shiftco. So, will you just kind of give us kind of the lay of the land? And I'm hoping that you'll walk us through um, the ABCs together.
Yeah. So when I explain the ABCs, I like to explain them why, what, and how. And so before we get to what are the ABCs and how do you do it, I really think it's important that we focus on why we need this right now. We're recording this in early January of 2020. It's been a difficult week after a horrible year. Yesterday, more people died and more people got COVID than the first, I think, 4 months. So it's challenging. On top of that, we had the insurrection in the Capitol and the sedition that is rampant. So it's challenging right now. And we're, regardless of what your political bend is, the mass consciousness right now is really intense. And, we wake up and we're feeling fear, we're feeling frustrated, we're feeling anger. And what we don't realize is our thoughts and our feelings are just energy, and that energy stays in our body. And so what happened is yesterday I might have seen a news report that was upsetting to me about the officer that was murdered in this insurrection. Because I care about our police and military, that was really bothersome to me. So that feeling that I had is still in my body. And so I wake up this morning, it's a brand new day. I go to get my coffee and I'm like, why am I so angry? There's nothing to be angry about. I've got this warm coffee and this beautiful fire. Why am I feeling so angry? Why am I feeling so angry? It's because of the anger that was in my body yesterday that's still there today. So that's why. There is so much going on after the year that we had and now the times that we are in, that those thoughts and those emotions are stuck in our body and we have to release them. So that's the why. Dena, do you have any thoughts about, I know you use the ABCs, do you have any thoughts about why you think it's important that the people learn how to use these ABCs?
For sure. So we all need some practices that we do, kind of like you wash your face and you brush your teeth. Like we need to do that with our energy and with our emotions every single day. First thing in the morning, last thing at night, we're picking up all this collective fear, gloom, doom, hate, violence. Like, even though we might not hold those energetically, like we might not have those from our past, but especially people who are empathic or who feel deeply, you're picking it up. And unless you're doing something, a process, a practice that helps you kind of slough that off, it builds up over time. And so we, even if we're meditators or people who, are doing like eating healthy foods and moving our bodies, we still need to do this energetic clearing. And I think the ABCs, it's simple, it works, and it's pretty genius actually.
Okay, so that's, why, what, how. Let's talk about what the ABCs are. It's three simple steps: A, B, and C. A stands for acknowledge, and acknowledge is the most important step. It's the step that most often we skip. And acknowledge means to acknowledge what you're thinking and feeling. Most people don't realize that our thoughts and emotions are not always conscious. Most of the time, they're in the subconscious mind. And so the anger that I felt yesterday watching that officer be murdered really is there. It's in my subconscious mind. And so today when I woke up and I got my coffee and I was feeling all this anger, I was like, oh, I didn't do my ABCs last night before I went to bed, and that anger is still there. So the way that you do acknowledge is with the prompt. The truth is, I feel, and I learned this actually from Iyanla Van Zant. I studied under her between 2003 and 2012. So I say the truth is, I feel, and then I just let whatever is going to come up, come up. And so when I did that this morning with my coffee, and I said, the truth is, I feel angry. And I was like, wow, where did that come from? Oh, yeah, yesterday, right? So the prompt really moves whatever the thoughts and emotions are that are prevalent in our body. Remember, thoughts and emotions are just energy, so they're in our body. So it moves them into our conscious mind so that then they can be released. So A stands for acknowledge, bringing it into awareness. B is then a form of breathing. Now, I want to be crystal clear. The ABCs don't work unless you first acknowledge. That's really the genius piece, is making those thoughts and emotions something that we're aware of, moving them into the conscious mind. So A, once I've done the awareness and I've acknowledged, then I can move to breathing. And I recommend 4 types of breaths. So for me, it's a ritual that works really well. If you have another breathing exercise, you can insert that here, but I'll walk your audience through the B for breathing. And remember, it only works if you've done the first part, which is the acknowledge piece. So acknowledge, and then we move to breathing. So remember, I said the truth is, I feel angry. So now that anger is in my conscious mind, now I can breathe it out of my body. Okay. And the way that I like to do the breathing, it's 4 breaths. And breath number 1 is in through your nose and out through your mouth. And it just basically takes the edge off. So and I can usually feel my blood pressure coming down with the first breath. Breath number 2 is the exact same thing, just a little bit deeper, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now I can feel my heart rate starting to come down. And then breath number 3 is a really important breath. Breath number 3, it's the same thing, only you're going to try to expel all of the air out of your lungs, so that after all that air is out and that energy is out, you're going to take a nice clean breath back in. The lungs are amazing. They have an amazing ability to heal through breathing. And so by breathing all of the air out of our lungs and just pushing it all out, then we'll take this beautiful sip of air back in, and a lot of that energy will be dissipated in that third breath. So we breathe all the way in. Now we're going to breathe out. Keep pushing. And the minute you have no air left in your lungs, the lungs go to work and they take this nice, clean, fresh air in. And you'll notice you'll feel a lot calmer at breath 3. But then I recommend one more breath. Same breath, only with breath 3, you really just try to connect to your core. That's the C. And so one more breath. And I kind of go, ah. And now as I take that 4th breath, I just try to feel myself sitting, centered, present. And that C is really moving into our center, just feeling the space and the beauty of that. For me, I'm a deeply spiritual person, so that's how I feel the divine is when I do my C, I just try to connect to that spiritual force, whatever you want to call it. And so that's the ABCs: acknowledge, breathe, connect.
Awesome. That I feel so much lighter whenever I do them. And also, one of the things that you had brought up in our coursework together, um, that kind of connecting it to something else that you do. Do you want to talk about a little bit about how you do that, how you connect the ABCs?
Yeah. Yeah, so I do them multiple times throughout the day, and I connect them with a habit. So let's say now I'm doing it with a glass of water. So every time I fill up my cup of water, I do the ABCs. And so that means 3-4 times a day when I'm filling up the cup of water, I'm doing the ABCs. And what that does is when you first start to do the ABCs and you do the acknowledge, like all this stuff starts coming up and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? I didn't know I felt all that. So for the first couple of days, it's like, whoa, I did not know there was so much anger and frustration there. And then after it starts to clear out a little bit, when you say the truth as I feel, you start to feel happy and you start to feel good stuff because you've created the space. So that's great. After a couple of days, you clear out that yuckiness. You'll say the truth is I feel happy or joyful, and you're like, cool, I got it. And then you don't do it anymore. Well, then it starts to build back up.
Yeah.
So the way that I created a habit is every time I do the ABCs, every time I fill up my cup of water, and as I'm standing there, letting the water fill up, the truth is I feel, doesn't matter what it is, positive or negative. I set my cup of water down, I do the 4 breaths, I connect, and then I grab my cup of water and get back to what I was doing. And so 3-4 times a day, I'll do the ABCs. And then I try to do them before I go to bed. And last night, of course, I forgot to do that. So that anger that I was feeling yesterday when I watched that horrific news clip carried over. And it was so timely that we were doing this recording today because it helped me viscerally remember why the ABCs are so important, because I'd forgotten that I'd watched that clip. At a conscious level, I'd forgotten. My body was still holding that anger. And that's a big part of what's wrong in society right now is we're holding on to past hurts. We're holding on to past angers. We're thinking the government's out to get us and these people are out to get us. And we've got all this negativeness and these perceptions that have been shaped. And if we just would clear that energy out and just connect to our core, we would find that it's a beautiful world out there, that there's mostly good people in the world. The majority of businesses are trying to do good. The majority of our legislators are trying to do good. The government's not out to get us. But because all of this energy is stuck in our body, we feel bad. And then the fascinating thing is the mind, when it feels bad in the body, starts to look for reasons to explain why we feel bad. And that's where these misperceptions come from. That energy is stuck in our body. The mind says, oh, the body doesn't feel good. What's going on? And it scans the environment to try to explain why we feel bad in our body. And then as a result of that, we start to blame and think this, and then we're way off track.
Yeah, I see it like mental toxins. Like
Yeah.
if we're adding something to our diet that's not good for us, if over time, that can cause some issues. And it's the same thing with our mind, being careful what you do engage in, what you watch. like that's certainly something that can go a long way to help. But there is that collective out there, and it is going to seep into your unconscious awareness. And unless you're doing something every single day to help process it, integrate it, to add light to it, to add space to it, we become more and more contracted, and then it shows up in our life as depression, fear, worry, doubt. um, yeah, it can cause a whole litany of issues. So ABCs: morning, night, when you're filling up your water, attaching it to something that really that you do often, because the more you do
Yeah.
it, like Terry said, I noticed it within the first week. At first, I was like, the truth is, I feel frustrated. Why do I feel frustrated? And then the next week, I'm like, the truth is, I feel pretty happy right now. Like I feel pretty good. It's getting all of that that's been we kind of sit in that cesspool of mental constructs that are happening out there, the chaos that's happening. So all we can
Yeah, and
control.
remember, thoughts and emotions are just energy,
Yeah.
right? So it's like if you've got some electricity that's not working well in your house, the plugs don't work quite right. If you've got energy in your body that's not clear, it's causing these chemical reactions in your body. So by simply clearing that energy, because thoughts and emotions are just energy, by clearing that energy and bringing clear oxygen into your body and centering and being present for just 15 seconds, you'll feel 1,000 times better.
And I find that people like something this simple, people think, oh, it can't work because it's too easy. Our minds are conditioned to think it's going to be hard, it's going to take a long time. But this is one of those pure processes that you can do anytime, anywhere, and it absolutely will shift your energy.
Yeah, and I would challenge your audience, just try it. And remember, the first couple of times you do it, you're going to have a lot of, not so fun energy come up, but just breathe it out. And then tomorrow, the next day, all of a sudden, you're going to feel better again. And then you just have to stay in front of it, proactively stay in front of it. And before you know it, the majority of things that come up when you acknowledge are going to be positive.
Yeah. So Terry, I'd love for you to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, how they can tap into some of the genius that you offer the world.
Yeah. So if you're a business owner and you want a community and a platform to grow a business that makes the world better, check out shipco.global. If you're looking for more purpose and meaning in your life, check out Succeed on Purpose. We have tons of free courses and free tools up there, including a little energy guide. You might want to put that link in here, the free energy guide that walks through the ABCs.
Yeah.
But there's tons of free tools on succeedonpurpose.com. Of course, LinkedIn is always a great way to connect with me. But I want to thank you, Dena, for the work that you do. You've helped me so much. I'm a customer of yours, and you're helping me be more healthy this year. And I really appreciate that. You do amazing work, and I want to thank you as well.
Thank you. It's an honor and so much fun.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.